This is Wheelock chapter 25, and this week we have both new forms and a new grammatical concept, so definitely a key chapter. And what we're learning today, so in Wheelock, if you want to open up to page 201, we're learning infinitives, the verbal noun. So we've learned participles, the verbal adjective. Now we need to learn the verbal nouns, and of course we already have learned some of the infinitives. And so, for example, here's the present active infinitive of amo, I love. So this is to love, amare. And now we've also learned the passive infinitive, present passive infinitive, amari, to be loved. So amare, to love, amari, to be loved. Now we're going to learn the future and the perfect infinitives as well. So amaturus essa is the future active infinitive, about to love. About to love. I'm about to love. And that's obviously the future participle plus the infinitive of to be, plus the present infinitive of to be. The future passive infinitive, as the book notes, is very rarely used. It means about to be loved, and it uses the neuter perfect passive participle, amatum, plus the future infinitive of the verb to be, which is iri. But again, it's very little used, so the future passive infinitive, make a flashcard for it, you might as well learn it, but we won't see it very often. The perfect infinitive, which I believe we've also already have, is amawissa. So that's the perfect stem plus issa, amawissa. To have loved, And perfect active. Perfect passive is the perfect passive participle plus the infinitive of the verb to be. So this is to have been loved. So again, present active infinitive, to love. Future active infinitive, about to love. Perfect active infinitive, to have loved. So in English, obviously the infinitive always starts with the word to. Then in the passive voice, present passive infinitive, to be loved. In the future then, about to be loved, but that's going to be very rare. And then in the perfect, to have been loved. So these are the endings, of course, for the first conjugation. Let's take a look at what happens in the second conjugation. Not much different. Again, we already know the infinitive here ends in era, monera, and then the passive moneri. The rules for the future are the same. It's the future participle plus essa, or it's the perfect. Again, we're not really going to learn the future passive infinitive because it's just not very often used. The rule is the same here. It's the perfect stem plus issa. That was the same for the first conjugation. The rule is the same. The perfect stem plus issa. And likewise, the rule is the same down here. It's the perfect participle plus essa. So third conjugation. So in other words, for each one of these, you have to learn the present active infinitive. You have to remember those endings and how the present passive infinitive. The rules for how to form the future and perfect infinitives are always the same. Third conjugation with the I stem, and then the fourth conjugation. And these are all, of course, in your book on pages 200 and 201. So you need to learn these forms. So for example, something that might come on the quiz is you would have this form. You would be asked to parse. Audawissa. And so you would have to select that its mood is infinitive, its voice is active, and its tense is perfect. So infinitives, when you parse them, they're only three things. They don't have person and number. That's what makes them infinitives. Infinitive means unlimited. It's the idea of the action unlimited by person and number. So audiwissa is the perfect active infinitive. Its infinitive is the mood. The mood is infinitive. The tense is perfect. The voice is active. So that'll certainly be on the quiz that will be parsing infinitives. Okay, so you need to learn all those forms. Then what do we do with infinitives? Well, we already know about infinitives completing ideas, but today we're also going to learn about indirect discourse. In indirect discourse, the subject goes into the accusative and the verb goes into the infinitive. We do the same thing in English. I think him to be a good person. So we can do that in English. You know what that means. It's perhaps not a common way in modern English, but you can still make sense of that sentence. I think him to be a good person. I said her to be late. We don't really use it with said. You really only use it with think. But in Latin, we use indirect discourse after verbs of saying, thinking, or perceiving. So here it is in Latin. Puto means I think. Puto eam, I think him, eam, to be, essa, a good person. Now often when we translate this into English, into more modern English, we're going to say, I think he is a good person. Or I think that he is a good person. How do we relate the main verb to the infinitive? Well, the tense of the infinitive is going to be relative to the tense of the main verb. So if you look on the bottom of page 203, study carefully the tenses in the following groups of sentences. So notice they have dikunt, they say, dikunt, that's present. And so if you add this, and then we have eum iuare, or eam iuare, eam is what they have. They say he to help her. Let's get rid of that to make this less confusing. Dikunt eam iuare. They say that he is helping. They say that he is helping. Because this is present tense. So dikunt is present, they are saying, and my tense of my infinitive is present. So this is going to be, they are saying that he is helping. Now if I change this to uwissa, it's going to be, they are saying that he was helping, because my infinitive is now perfect. So I've got present under here, and I add the perfect. That's going to be, they are saying that he helped. If I change this, so if you turn the page, if I change this to the present, or from present to perfect, dixerunt, and I change this back to, so now I've got perfect, dixerunt, they said, so now this is they said, now it's past tense, so this is going to be that he had helped her, that he had helped. So what's going on here is the perfect tense is going to push, is relative. It's going to be past tense relative to the main verb. So if my main verb is already past tense, then this past tense is going to be before the other past tense. So if I'm dealing in the present, if my main verb is present tense, then the present infinitive, here let's just do it this way. Present infinitive, what that means is, can't type, present with the main verb. Present with the main verb. The perfect infinitive is before the main verb. Future infinitive is in the future of the main verb. So if I'm already starting in the perfect, if my main tense is perfect, and then I add another perfect, then it's got to be he had helped. It's got to go back before the perfect tense. So that's what all those examples on page 203 and 204 are showing you. So read through those so you know how to translate them. But for today, really focus on making your flashcards of here are all the infinitives for the first conjugation, all the infinitives for the second conjugation, all the infinitives for the third conjugation I stem, and the fourth conjugation. Know all of those, be able to parse all of those, and then read through this whole section in the book about indirect discourse, and but really focus on learning the forms. The translations we're going to work on when we do these translations. And so then I want you to work on Wednesday or Thursday, I want you to work on these two translations from lesson 25. Of course, also make the vocabulary words, your vocabulary cards, on page 205. Once you've had a couple days to put those under your belt, do translations number 1 and 2, and then on Thursday, get the corrections for these and study up for the Friday quiz. So that's our plan, and good luck with those infinitives.